Good evening, everyone. How we doing? My name is Chris, and I'm here to give my reaction to the new Rings of Power official trailer that came out yesterday. I don't get why they do this with trailers, and this isn't me harping on the Rings of Power for doing this or Amazon, or Prime Video or anything like that. So many things do that. I feel like we've had about three trailers for this thing already, but now we're only at the official trailer. So forget all those other trailers; those weren't official. This is the official one, so you know what that means. It must be the best, right? Hopefully. Christ almighty, I mean, this could do with a good trailer. I will say that, but I haven't seen this trailer yet, so when I get to it and I do my reaction in just a second, it will be a first-time reaction, and obviously we can chat about it, we can have a discourse about it, and see if we're on the same page with it. If we're not on the same page, that's absolutely fine too. This is an open discussion on the Rings of Power. Suffice it to say, everything that has come out for this show so far has just been an absolute train wreck. As a diehard Tolkien fan, I mean, guys, you can see I'm a Tolkien fan. I'm a Tolkien nerd. It's my favorite mythology. It's my favorite set of novels. Just everything. The world that J.R.R. Tolkien created is just absolutely wonderful. They're my favorite films of all time, and everything is just so wrong. And you can tell that this isn't made from like any kind of like passion of the source material. This is trying to change the source material. The source material isn't progressive enough, and we've got a. This was just made to fill the vacuum that was left after Game of Thrones had finished. You know, the fantasy TV realm, and Amazon have got their claws into it and have just completely ran it under the bus, haven't they, at this point? But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe this trailer could win me over at this point. I don't think that's going to be the case. As I say, literally everything, posters, into the market, every bit of marketing. I have to try and think that this was like some kind of self-sabotage, like someone in the industry, someone in Amazon knows that this is terrible, is a massive Tolkien fan, and everyone in the marketing department has just been trying to like sabotage this show so that it's dead on arrival. I actually don't have the like to dislike ratio on YouTube, so I don't know if it's been ratioed at the moment. I expect it has, because all the previous trailers were. And we're gonna die on this hill. We're gonna hold fast, we're gonna stay strong as Tolkien fans, and we're not gonna cave into it. The norm is, if they want to watch it, they can watch it, and hell, if they enjoy it, for what it is, then who am I to say otherwise? Of course, if they enjoy a show, I'm not going to be that guy who says like, oh, you shouldn't like that. If people like it, people like it. But I don't know who this is made for. Who is this made for? Because it isn't for diehard Tolkien fans. That's for damn sure. Certainly not for the Lord of the Rings. It's trying to bank on the name alone. And I think, as us fans, we've wised up to what they're trying to do with this thing. And we're seeing it with so many things now. The MCU is just lying in tatters. It's still making money, but, all of the Disney Plus shows and the last few films that have come out have just been absolute hot garbage. And, we've seen it with Star Wars. We had this discussion last time. We've seen it with so many different franchises now, that now they've got to the Lord of the Rings. It was only a matter of time. Now they've got to the Lord of the Rings. It's it's crazy. It's just like, this isn't our first rodeo. We know what's to come, and we've been seeing it online as well. Just if you have any kind of negative criticisms towards this show, towards this trailer, towards the marketing or anything like that, you're an ist, you're a phobe. Cancel culture being what it is, and there's been articles come out about that already. It's just racist Tolkien fans, misogynistic Tolkien fans, and they did that shit with Star Wars, when episode 7 was coming out, Star Wars episode 8. And am I saying that, I'm not saying there haven't been some outright racism, racist things leveled towards this show. There probably has been, and to some of the actors involved, and I don't condone that at all. That's absolutely horrible. And that should never be done to any franchise, regardless of it's horrible. Like, no one should ever do that. But I think a lot of criticism, legitimate criticism, that is leveled at this show is just, tarred with the same brush that, oh, someone's being an ist and someone's being a phobe. which is just a very scapegoat way of getting out of adult discussion. Anyway, we've got some people in chat. How are we all doing? It'll be the Guy Ladbro show. Well, I don't know. I hope those Guy Ladbros actually wise up to it and think that actually this isn't great, and I'm just going to go watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy again because it's actually really fucking good. Nikki's on it with the numbers. 28k upvotes to 220k down. Have we ever seen this with a show before with that level of a ratio? I mean, there probably has been at some points. I'm not saying there isn't, but for a show like this, the Lord of the Rings, Amazon making a Middle-earth TV series, and since trailer 1 and every bit of marketing, that's just the US version as well. Yeah, so I don't know what the UK version is and worldwide and everything, but this is incredible, and I'm loving seeing so many diehard Tolkien fans all uniting under one banner against Amazon Prime. It'll have ridiculous ratings the first few weeks, and then I think this will see a massive drop off. I saw an article earlier saying that, when they signed up to make this show, and I swear I don't know if you guys have been like following the behind the scenes of this show, but when it was originally announced, I seem to remember them saying that it was going to be 20 odd episodes. It was going to be like 24, 22 episodes or something like that. And I thought, oh, God damn. This is a big show. It seems like it's been ages since we've had a show with that kind of many episodes. With that many episodes per season. Now it's usually like 10, maybe 13, maybe 15 if you're lucky. And then that's like dwindled down now. And apparently it's 8 episodes per season. And then, they were very outright saying that this is going to be 5 seasons. They're banking on it being 5 seasons. People are tied in for 5 seasons. But then I saw an article earlier, and it could just be, the choice of phrase and everything like that, saying that it's tentatively meant to be 5 seasons. So money talks, doesn't it? With anything, with films, with franchises, and TV shows are exactly the same. Streaming numbers, viewing figures, revenue. And if this doesn't make its money back, because it's the most expensive TV show in history, I think. If it doesn't make its return back and people don't tune in and, criticism and everything leveled against it, I don't know if it's going to make it to 5 seasons. But hey, if it does make it to 5 seasons, then it gives us something to talk about, doesn't it? Because I will be covering this show, and that's as good as opportunity as any to go over the socials. Please do subscribe to the channel for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams. And indeed, we'll be doing all 3 of those. It won't be a movie review, but it will be a live discussion on all of the episodes. I did have a release date when this was coming out. The Rings of Power. So I know it's going to be, for UK viewers, it's going to be up at 2 a.m. on Friday, I think it is. On Friday, is it like the 5th of September or something like that? I think it is. The 6th of September, whatever it happens to be. So I have work on Saturday. So I was going to try and stay up, at like 2 a.m. and watch this thing live with you guys. But I'm probably going to have to park it to the Saturday evening, I'm afraid. So if you guys are cool with that, then I'll keep the Rings of Power reviews on Saturday evenings, and we'll take it from there. Yeah, but I'm going to be covering it. I've missed out on some shows already. Kenobi came out, and I didn't review that because I just stayed away from it. There's been a whole bunch of Marvel shows which I just don't give a fuck about. And in all honesty, I would, in any other circumstance, boycott the Rings of Power and just not watch it. But I owe it to you guys. And as I said, it's going to be group therapy getting through this thing. So it's going to give us something to talk about. I'm not going to shy away from it. We are going to be, week to week, going to be doing reviews on it. And we'll have 2 episodes to kick us off very nicely. So follow me on my socials. Obviously subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter as well. You can find me at Hobbit Fan Editor, and I'll post the times and days when I've got it in place and got the schedule in place and everything like that. I'll let you know. And obviously hit the bell icon too, so you'll get a notification when it pings up when I go live. We're going to get to the channel in just a second. I may as well do this announcement now, actually. I was going to do this after the reaction, but I may as well do it now, considering we're talking about TV. And I now can say this. I think the embargo lifted for feature content or something like that, feature coverage at 5 p.m. today, so I should be good. I haven't seen any of the episodes yet, but do we have any Cobra Kai fans in the house? Because I will be giving my Cobra Kai Season 5 spoiler-free review on September the 6th. So that is going to be... Actually, is that going to clash with... That might clash with the Rings of Power. Well, in that case, Cobra Kai takes precedent because Cobra Kai is one of my favorite TV shows. I haven't watched Season 5 yet, but I've got access to the first 9 episodes. And then episode 10 is just going to be released to everyone once it goes, out to everyone on Netflix. So I'm going to be doing like an initial spoiler-free review. So if you're a Cobra Kai fan, please do subscribe to the channel, obviously, and tune in for that. As I say, that's going to be September the 6th, so a couple of weeks away yet. I haven't watched any of the episodes yet, but that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's a show that it's a series that I'm really looking forward to. I've loved all the 4 previous seasons. Season 4 ended in really good stead for Season 5, so looking forward to seeing how it all pans out. Awesome. Okay, right. We've talked about fun things like Cobra Kai, and now we need to get onto the Rings of Power, don't we? Let's see. We've got another comment here from Nikki. Tolkien fans basically invented internet forums. They are playing on that. Absolutely. I mean, the biggest internet forum in terms of Tolkien fans is the OneRing.net, isn't it? And we've seen how they've reacted to their fans. So that is the biggest shame. That is the biggest shame from the Rings of Power in my eyes. I mean, there's been a lot of bad fallout from this TV show. But it's seeing all of these channels that I love, that I'm subscribed to, Tolkien Lore, Nerd of the Rings, Men of the West. And I know, I guess, I know why they've got to do it. They've got to keep an open mind, because if they say it's terrible, they're going to risk alienating, potentially a big chunk of their fan base, of their subscribers. And they're thinking about numbers, and they're thinking about subscribers, and they're thinking about revenue. So they're sitting on the fence. They're being neutral on this whole thing rather than just telling it how it is. And honestly, I don't know how any self-respecting Tolkien fan can condone or enjoy anything they've seen so far from this show. They're always like, oh, we need to wait and see what it looks like. I'm like, every trailer, every poster, every bit of marketing about this thing, every announcement, every interview with the crew behind it and the writing team has all been an absolute travesty and a slap in the face to Tolkien. Like, how can you condone this show? But I get it. It's subscribers. It's, if they've got thousands of subscribers, 500,000 subscribers, however many it is, they're going to do what's right by their channel, aren't they? And it's a shame. It's a shame, because it has made me stop watching a lot of these channels that I used to love watching. I'm not saying they're bad people, far from it. I'm sure, they're still great people, but I don't know. It's kind of separated a bunch of channels for me now. The ones that have some actual conviction and like a backbone and aren't afraid to talk out about this thing. And then the ones that are just plain neutral because they're trying to go for clicks. Nikki says, oh God, the super fans video. I passed out from cringe. I haven't seen what would you even call that? Like a featurette, a superfans video. I haven't seen anything that bad attached to any property, whether it be a TV show, whether it be a film, any kind of marketing. That might actually be the worst video I've ever seen. And some of these ad campaigns do some really cringy shit. But that was on another level. I actually can't even comprehend that bit. I really wish I'd have done a trailer reaction to that. I really wish I'd have reacted to it. But yeah, I mean, you've just said it best right there. It was, yeah. And I'm sure we'll have plenty more cringe in this right now. So let's get to the trailer itself. Let's do it. Let's let's get this done. Right, now I'm kind of favoring this setup personally. I think I pitched this question to you guys the other time. Do you prefer the one with the bigger trailer and I'm super, super tiny? It is a trailer reaction though, so I'm thinking, not that I want to be center of attention the whole time, just a little bit at the time. Would it be better to have me sort of full screen, and I'm going to full screen the trailer as well? I don't know. SeaWorld Man says, was it similar to your Aquaman one? That was, I mean, I guess you're referring to the channel that should now not be mentioned, but yeah, I did. I got a lot of negative criticism on that, didn't I? And I called people out in the comments. I did a reading out comments video, which was really funny. But yeah, we don't talk about that channel anymore. He says, this works. There isn't much to see in this trailer. Perfect. Right, we're going to do this for the trailer then. SeaWorld Man wants the trailer smaller. Yeah, okay, that works for me. Excellent. This is usually the setup for a trailer reaction. You know, the host and then the trailer is small. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to full screen it, so I can't see you guys' comments right now. We'll get to them after the trailer. We're probably going to be watching this trailer a bunch of times anyway and kind of picking it apart at the seams. Right, here we go.
My brother gave his life hunting the enemy.
Finrod, wasn't it? Finrod, I think. God, the CGI is just... Oh.
Stand with me.
Jesus, look at the green screen. Oh my God, that's so bad. Look at it. The lighting and everything's just so off.
Your destiny.
What's with this pop song?
The work of something greater.
Oh God, because nothing screams Tolkien like this piece of shit music.
Each of us.
Are they what? Oh my God, are they the designs for the wargs?
Must decide who we shall be.
Oh God, there we go.
I'm not the hero you seek.
Whatever it was you did, be free of it.
Nothing about this.
This will be your kingdom.
Oh God. Wait, was she speaking with an American accent?
Choose not the path of fear.
Did she have an American accent right there?
But that of faith.
I'm gonna have to take that back. Stunning and brave Galadriel.
One thing we can do.
What's going on with
any creature in all Middle Earth?
What's going on with the slow motion in this? It's like 300.
Even bigger in our feet.
Was this meant to be was he talking to the camera? That was like a documentary. There's a Gandalf. Oh God.
Survive this. You not.
Fuck's sake. This is so bad. This is so bad.
Commander! Wait! No! We keep moving!
Stunning and brave Galadriel.
Keep fighting.
There is a tempest in me.
Oh, fuck off. Oh, there is a tempest in me.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel. Put up your sword.
Yeah, you lead that cavalry charge, because that's what Galadriel does. Look at this shit. It's like some it's like some Matrix 300 shit. Oh,
Without it, what am I to be?
ninja skills. Fuck me. This fucking trailer. Jesus. Oh my actual Christ. What? I am speechless. They tell you what, they've fucking outdone themselves this time. We have got so much to discuss. We have stuff to discuss. Oh, okay. Well, you better strap yourselves in. I hope you guys don't have any places to be tonight, because yeah, I think it's gonna be a long one. Lord Oakenshield. We have royalty in the chat itself. This series is going to be such a shit show. Oh yeah. And here's the thing with if people now still say, well, you haven't seen the show, so wait until it's come out. And no, I have seen like what, 3 or 4 trailers now at this point. I've seen fucking TV spots or whatever they are, featurettes, behind the scenes, interviews, fucking dissertations tearing down Tolkien, how he was racist and wasn't progressive. This is an utter fucking travesty. This looks like the biggest train wreck I have ever seen. And I saw episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. This, I can't, but how could a studio with this much money produce this? They've literally got a Tolkien TV show. Oh, God. Nikki says, speak your truth lyrics, my God. Boromir face. Yeah, what is up with the song? What is up with that fucking song? No, okay. Castro, like, just Tolkien itself. What about Tolkien associates itself with like some weird, like, alternative, like, pop song? Nothing remotely, and nothing about this screams Middle Earth to me. Even now, the show does. If you drop the title of this and this trailer came out and you'd be like, what is this? I wouldn't say that it's a Lord of the Rings show. Not in a million years would I say that this is a Lord of the Rings show. If you remove like all the name drops to like Galadriel and Sauron and whatnot, and you just visually from what it is, it looks nothing remotely like Lord of the Rings. It looks more like Game of Thrones from its stuff, from like it's the costume design and just the look of it. But even then, it looks more Narnia. It looks so fakey fake and none of the grit or realism. When Peter Jackson was making the Lord of the Rings trilogy, in the behind the scenes appendices, he says that he would kind of tell people that we're actually filming history right now. We've just happened upon these wonderful locations and these ruins and these civilizations, and we are actually filming history. And the way those films look, and probably aided by the fact that they were shot on film, you've got that grainy quality to it. They feel lived in. They feel legendary. They feel like a proper mythology come to life, and it feels so real. And there's so much grit in those Lord of the Rings films. That was sadly lost when you got the Hobbit trilogy. Everything went digital, and you had the 48 frames a second, and the new cameras, not infrared cameras, that's not the right thing, but the colors were like overly saturated, and it was all glossy, and took a lot of away from those films, I think, which was a real shame. And a lot of the aesthetic was lost from those earlier Jackson films. But this one just looks more in the same vein as those Hobbit films, but just like ramped up to an infinite degree. That shot of Galadriel getting on the boat, we'll go through the trailer again in a second, guys, like step by step. So I'll have like a visual representation of what I'm talking about. It looks so bad. And I know that this is the most expensive TV show in history, but and there's always going to be like a discrepancy between what we see on a TV screen compared to like a feature film. Like, I get that, but you can't see the money on screen with this thing. It looks so fucking cheap. The costumes look terrible. The CGI doesn't look great, and that's nothing against the visual effects artists, because I know that they pour in hours into these things, but everything just looks really artificial. You can tell that Galadriel isn't in that location or getting onto a boat, and it's just she's stood in front of a green screen. It just looks so bad. You got like more physics defying stuff. I wasn't even keen on that stuff in the Lord of the Rings, in Peter Jackson's films. I don't mind it in the Lord of the Rings. When Legolas is doing the shield down the stairs thing, that is Peter Jackson being Peter Jackson. But at least in that scene, it's all in camera. And although there was some wire work involved in it, like, it's still a real shield. It's a real staircase. There's an actor there, and they were all extras of the Uruk-hai. Everything within that shot is real. There's no CGI trickery with that, even though it's like physically impossible or whatnot. I don't even know. I think someone could probably do that if they wanted to, like a pro skater or something. I could see that being a stunt on Jackass. In Return of the King, it was the final big action scene, and he wanted to take that out on a high with Legolas, so he climbs the Oliphant. It is ridiculous. It is over the top, but it does kind of punctuate that battle at the end. And even then, it's climbing, it's sliding, it's swinging. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's ridiculously heightened, and I'm not too keen on it myself, but it's Peter Jackson being Peter Jackson. The shit in the Hobbit film was fucking ridiculous. Like, everything with like Legolas and the elves and all the shit they could do in that, absolutely terrible. So this isn't me just harping on the Rings of Power. This is also me harping on the Hobbit, because that shit was cringe as well. But it feels like 300. There's so much slow-mo. I don't know if it's just been slow-mo down for the trailer to make it look edgy and to make it look impactful, and then when you actually see those shots in the actual show, it's going to be at normal speed. But none of the action feels real. It doesn't feel like it's got any weight behind it, because you're just seeing these characters do all this ridiculous shit, this Matrix physics defying stuff, which just is crap as far as I'm concerned. Like, it was done to a tasteful level and wasn't all over the place in the Lord of the Rings films. The Hobbit, it was one of my least favorite things about those films. And yeah, we've got more of that in this. And also just the look of it, as I said, it just feels like generic fantasy show. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be called The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Like, it could just be called, I don't know, like the name of the fantasy kingdom that it takes place in. You know, it could just be that. Nothing about it at all screams Lord of the Rings to me, from the conceptual design to the, you know, character design to the way they've imagined the world. There's none of that. There's none of that classic legendary mythology quality, which is exactly what Middle-earth is, and is exactly what Tolkien wrote. And that was precisely what it was designed to be when he wrote it. It was meant to be an English mythology, because England didn't really have a mythology. Any mythology we would have had would have been, you know, completely eradicated by the Anglo-Saxons. And he wasn't okay with that. And Tolkien was, you know, obviously inspired by Germanic and Nordic stories. In fact, like every single, even like the name Gandalf and pretty much all of the name of the dwarves in The Hobbit are all lifted straight out of the Prose Edda, I think, pretty much, and, you know, Nordic mythology. It's steeped in that so much. There's Irish mythology in there too, and it's this amalgamation of all of this stuff which was designed to be an English mythology, and you're not getting any of that. With the Lord of the Rings films, there was that grandiose, you know, vast world that's out there. We're telling this, you know, this story of the War of the Ring, but, you know, from short scene, there's so much world building in those films. It's the best world building I've ever seen in terms of films, and there's even more in the books. Of course there is. There's an exhaustive amount in the books that you couldn't put to film, and Peter Jackson somehow managed the impossible, and he cut a lot of things out and he changed a lot of things. Definitely, it's not, you know, a one for one, page for page recreation of the books by any stretch of the imagination, but the spirit was there and the intent was there, and the heart of the story that Tolkien was getting at, I believe, was translated. And that's the thing. That's the biggest takeaway with those films. There is no heart. There is no soul in this at all. This is just purely made for monetary gains. Which, you know, of course, that's the long and short of it with most films and TV shows, is that, you know, these companies do want to turn a profit. Of course they do. And money always plays a big factor. Money makes the world go round. If more of us valued home above, If more of us valued home above gold, this world would be a merrier place. Absolutely, Thorin Oakenshield. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. But there was passion behind Peter Jackson, you know, with those films. He wanted to adapt those, and the sacrifices he made, the shit that went on in his personal life. Like, I think when he was filming Lord of the Rings, he tragically lost his parents, and he never got to mourn them all that much. And he was right back to work because he had 3 films. He had 3 films to make. Yeah, I'm drifting away from the trailer. I'm kind of going all over the place here, and you guys are commenting along, so I really need to get back to the trailer. Oh my god, dude, Lord Oak, it's Will from Vimeo, by the way. Oh my god, I didn't realize. How are you doing, man? No, it's been absolutely ages. I just want to say, like, thanks again for following me on my Vimeo channel for all those years. Yeah, no, it's great to see you back, dude. That's awesome. I'm glad you managed to find the channel, and yeah, no, this is great. Really good to see you again, man. Nikki, opening lyrics from the song "Speak Your Truth." They are legit throwing it in our faces. I know. Yeah, they've got to push their agenda, haven't they, with this whole thing? What an absolute shit show. Just going back to Will, I guess that, you know, shameless ploy right now. I did a fan edit of the Hobbit trilogy. You can find links to it in the description down below. I finished it last December. It's a project that I might come back to at some point in case I want to make any more changes, but for right now, I'm happy with how it is. I don't think there's any level of fan editing that I could do to the Rings of Power to make it true. Actually, that is a challenge I am willing to take on, actually. I don't... This is just foundationally from the ground up, it's fucked. I don't think there's anything that I can do to edit this or make it as accurate to Tolkien as possible. I just no, because nothing about it is Tolkien. As I say, it's Tolkien in name only. Nikki says they say never judge a book by its cover, but the cover is always the gods. Yeah, the GD say that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the new trailer for Elder Scrolls. That's it. That's the thing. And Elder Scrolls, by design, is a much more modern mythology. And it's a completely different mythology with completely different intentions than Tolkien was with his thing. So it is much more multicultural. You know, you do have loads of people of color in there. And here's the thing, like, Lord of the Rings does too. Middle Earth does as well, but each place has its province. But, you know, with, you know, Skyrim and Tamriel and all those places and Morrowind, it is a much more multicultural by design. It just is, like, it is that world, and that's fine. Tolkien's world is fine for what it is, and, you know, the world of Elder Scrolls is fine for what it is, but they're two completely different mythologies. And yeah, if this was an Elder Scrolls show, then sure, I'd be like, okay. I'd still say it's being really preachy with its message and that it's, you know, absolutely woke beyond belief, but at least it looks more like Elder Scrolls. It looks, put it like this, it looks more Elder Scrolls than the Middle Earth, that's for damn sure. These trailers have zero plot. Fellowship's trailer firmly sets the premise. We get zero to be excited about this. That's a really great point, actually. I didn't even consider that, but you're absolutely right. We have seen nothing. They're just banking on the name alone, aren't they? They're just, oh, you're going to watch this because it's the Lord of the Rings. It's the Rings of Power. It's Galadriel. You remember her, but now she's like Joan of Arc and leading armies and cavalry charges. And hobbits, yeah, you remember those are the big hairy feet. We all love hobbits. Meteor Man is Gandalf. Okay, you know, it's banking on those things alone. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We don't get any sense of these characters, of, you know, the bigger picture of what's happening, of the story it's telling. And yeah. And Will, glad to see you doing well, my friend. It's been a while. It's been a long time. But no, great to see you again, mate. Right, let's start delving into this trailer then. So let me bring this back up. And let's take it from... I'm actually going to... Do I shrink this down? No. Let's go through it at this. So I'm still trying to debate what this battle is, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be the Battle of Sudden Flame. I think it's the Battle of Sudden Flame where Galadriel's brother is killed. There's so many names in the Silmarillion. As I said, I've read the Silmarillion 3 times, and then other select chapters I've read more times than that. But, you know, I'm not completely I'm not a complete Tolkien scholar. I'm not versed in all of that stuff. So if I get some names mixed up, if I get some events mixed up, then don't hold it against me. It's just a book that I clearly need to read another 20 times or more to get all this stuff memorized. And I will one day, because I do want to be that good of recalling all these things. But I'm pretty sure it's the Battle of Sudden Flame, I think, which saw an absolutely devastating loss to all the good guy factions, essentially, especially the elves. And I think it's Finrod. Is it Finrod? I think it is. I'm not sure. I think that was Galadriel's brother. So yeah, I mean, we've seen this shot a bunch of times before, haven't we? Like the design of the armor and stuff, and the helmets. I'm not too keen on the helmets. You know, hang on, let me. I'm going to switch this to the big one now, actually, because we need to be looking at the frames a little bit better. There's none of the elegance and the costume design that you got from, you know, Peter Jackson and you know, Weta and all of that. There was artistry to the armor. That was the beautiful thing about that stuff, was that you could look at some elven armor, just a shot of some elven armor, and even if you don't know, it's like just from the design of it, not the architecture, but the designs and how it's been structured, everything, you can tell that it's elven armor. You know, dwarven architecture, you could just, from glancing at it, you know that it's dwarven, and there's a whole culture there, and you know that speaks through the armor itself and the actual world, and the, as I say, like the architecture of their worlds and their respective kingdoms and cities. And you've just got none of the elegance in the... It looks like Roman armor, doesn't it? It looks like almost like a scene from Gladiator or something from the beginning. It's almost like Roman centurion kind of armor, just like the smooth, rounded helmets. There's none of that elegant designs of, the crests or, the floral worked into the armor or anything like that. It's just... Yeah, Nikki says that this battle looks really localized and small. My guess is this is going to be some kind of prologue. I think episode 1, they're releasing the first 2 episodes, aren't they? And I'm pretty sure that episode 1 is going to be just all a prologue, like all the history leading up to this. Well, as much as that they have the rights to, that they can actually tell. It's going to be very truncated down. It's probably going to be simplified a lot. And in all fairness, Peter Jackson did that a lot too with the Lord of the Rings, and certainly when it came to the Hobbit. The battle of Azanulbizar and the Hobbit goes down completely differently from what it is in the books. So yeah, my guess is they're going to simplify things down, but I think they're definitely going to nerf things down a lot more than what Peter Jackson did with those films. Let's see. Lord Oakenshield says, I don't mind having people of color in Middle-earth adaptation, but only if these people are human. Easterlings, thank you. Haradrim, Black Dwarves and Elves don't exist in Middle-earth. Yes, thank you. Will, we are on the same page. This is what I've said from day one, from the first trailer. All the races are accounted for in Middle-earth. I've always said that. As you just pointed out, you've got the Easterlings, the Haradrim, the South. I think the Southrons are just another name for the Haradrim, if I'm remembering correctly. You've got the Corsairs, you've got the Woses with the Druidane. You've got all these different cultures and races. Like, it is a diverse world. It is, but each of the it is just men, and they all have their provinces within, and that's just how it's written. That's just how it's written. And so here's the thing, like, they have a lot of free reign with this. It basically is fan fiction at this point, and it's going to be because they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion. And the big chunk of, well, I mean, it is the history of Middle-earth from the actual creation of the goddamn universe. All of that information down to the infinitesimal detail is in the Silmarillion, which they don't have the rights to. When they initially said that they were going to be doing a Middle-earth TV show, I thought, oh, fantastic, they're going to be doing Silmarillion shit. And then it came out that, oh no, it's going to be Second Age stuff. But even then, like, granted, in the Silmarillion, the Year of the Lamps and the Year of the Trees and the First Age occupies the largest portion of that book with the most interesting stories, I think. But nevertheless, there's still a lot of stuff that's explored in the book surrounding the Second Age, mostly the Numenor stuff and, all the events of the fall of Numenor, the creation of the Rings of Power and whatnot. There's still a lot there. And I thought, okay, so they're still going to be dipping into the Silmarillion for all that stuff. And then I heard, no, they don't have any rights to the Silmarillion. They only have the rights to adapt the scant few pages of the Second Age stuff in the appendices of the Lord of the Rings, which does tell the events of those stories, but not to that level of detail. So certain characters that are mentioned to take place in those moments in the Silmarillion that aren't mentioned in those appendices, I'm guessing they don't have the rights to, and they can't adapt those. So a good portion of this show is going to have to be filling in the blanks and, introducing new characters and new lines of dialogue, because there isn't loads of dialogue. There's, a few little passages of exchanges between certain characters, but between a paragraph, 100 years could pass. A millennia could pass within a couple of lines, within a couple of paragraphs. So obviously you are going to have to fill that stuff. So, and here's the thing, like, let's say on paper, when Amazon were making this show, they were like, right, we want this to be, as progressive as possible and have as many different cultures and as many different races in there as possible because we've got to tick that box. Let's just say they wanted to do that and they wanted to go with that. That's not a problem, provided that they stay true to the law. And there is so much opportunity where they could have done that, and they could have stuck true to the law, and they could have introduced that. The Easterlings themselves and the Haradrim mentioned only briefly in the books, and there's not a vast amount of history on them. There's a little bit, but there's still a lot left in mystery there. And I thought, if you want to explore that and you do want a huge diverse cast, you could absolutely do that. Let's see the Easterlings. Let's see the Haradrim. hell, create some fictional characters in those provinces, and let's just see more of the culture and their way of life. That would have been great, and genuinely, I would have been all there for that, because I'm fascinated by the Haradrim and the Easterlings, and because there's just not much in the source material. It sparks my imagination. It's like, oh, I want to know more about these places and, you know, this geography and this culture and these people. And they could have done that in this show, and they could have explored it, and they would have potentially 5 seasons worth of stuff they could have mined from that. But they haven't, have they? They've gone with the elves. They've gone with the men. They've, you know, race swapped people, and they've just done that. And there was no need to. There was absolutely no need to. And what really boils my piss about it as well is that with the Lord of the Rings films, Peter Jackson got it completely right. No one gave a shit. No one was saying, oh, there's not enough people of color in the Lord of the Rings films, and this is racist. Why do all the elves have to be white, and why do all the hobbits have to be white? No one gave a fuck about that stuff. And the films went on to win countless Oscars, you know, loved by millions across the world. People reacting to it today who have never seen it before absolutely fall in love with that world and its characters, because they can see beyond that, and they can just appreciate the characters that are there and the story that is being told. Now all of a sudden we've got this completely fucking narcissistic trait in people where viewers can't connect to a world and can't escape into a world and its characters unless they are depicted on screen, unless that character in this random TV show has exactly the, you know, is exactly the same race as I am, or exactly the same gender as I am, or exactly the same sexuality and race, color, creed, all of that. I can't enjoy this product unless I am seeing a mirror image of myself in this product. How fucking narcissistic and backwards thinking is that? Because that just completely destroys the whole essence of escapism and storytelling, that you don't have the function to just appreciate what is being, you know, the story that is being told and the characters that are being told through it. I just don't get that way of thinking. And it's just absolutely ridiculous to me. It's just so ridiculous. It's ludicrous, in fact. Like, how narrow-minded do you have to be? And as I say, the Hobbit films got it right. The Lord of the Rings films got it right. No one gave a fuck. But now apparently it's this world-changing issue that no, we must have a black dwarven queen. We must have this. We must have Galadriel being leading a cavalry charge. Even if it destroys the law, fuck it. Who cares? And that's the thing. Like, Will, you said it perfectly. Like, if they just stayed true to the law, there's ample opportunity of what they could have done with that, and I'd have been absolutely there for it. But because they haven't done, it's so transparent what they're trying to do. That's the thing. It's so transparent. And then just tearing down like Tolkien fans and stuff online, just calling them ists and phobes and all of that stuff. It's fucking diabolical. And it's just a charge. It's so childish. It's just such a childish scapegoat to go to. Because it's like, oh, if you disagree with our product, you're a racist. That's a fucking horrible thing to say. Like, racism exists in the world, and it's fucking horrible, and it's fucking violent, and it's disgusting. And to say just because someone has like legitimate criticism against a Rings of Power official trailer that they're all of these horrible things, when real issues are going on in the world and that stuff exists and it's fucking nasty. It's, yeah, sorry, I'm getting on my high horse right now, because as I say, I got cancelled. I was from the Rings of Power. I was cancelled from my opinions on this from trailer 1, and it's just fucking laughable that people can't see. Anyway, yeah, let's not delve into that. Will says, how could there be black dwarves? They live under the mountains, never seen the sun. It makes no sense. Yeah, exactly. And that's by analyzing that, and you're right to analyze it in that fact, because Tolkien was so meticulous with his world and his world building, and everything made sense. But now by addressing that, it does break the geography of the world. It breaks the logic of the world that is presented in Tolkien's Legendarium, because you start to pick it apart then, yeah, and you go, well, how can that be true? Because geographically it's this, and you know, this is their way of life and everything like that. And also, I think it draws reference to, if this is meant to be, as it's dubbed, the Lord of the Rings prequel, you've got Galadriel, who's leading cavalry charges and is like Joan of Arc, and she's going to be so fucking two-dimensional in this show. It's going to be ridiculous. Every single line of dialogue that character is going to have is going to be like a hype mode, and she's going to be utterly ridiculous because they can't write strong women in media anymore. Well, maybe some can, but it's very, especially in like popular media with like Marvel at the moment, Star Wars, like they can't fucking do it. You know, you're going to have that, and by the time you get to the Third Age, women don't do battle, and that's what makes Eowyn so special, because she steps up against the traditions of the world at the time, that only men do battle, that men are soldiers. She wants to step up, she wants to fight, and she gets stuck in, which is one of the best moments in the Return of the King. Of course it is. I Am No Man. Great, wonderful character arc for Eowyn right there. So to have women readily doing battle beforehand, it's like, well, what happened now then politically? And, you know, between the Second Age and the Third Age, the same with, you know, black dwarves, black hobbits. It's like, well, what the fuck happened to them all when we arrive into the Third Age? Like, why were they all wiped out? Was there some kind of like mass genocide? Like, it breaks the logic and the history of the lore of the world of the Legendarium, and it's absolutely pointless. Nikki says the blues would have been fun to get some context on. Yes, absolutely. And here's the thing, like, if they'd have gone into the Easterlings, you know, into the deserts of Rune and everything like that, we could have got the Blue Wizards. If Meteor, I mean, I don't want the Blue Wizards to arrive via Meteor, don't be misinterpreting what I'm saying, but if, you know, if they wanted wizards in this, it doesn't have to be Gandalf, it doesn't have to be Radagast, it doesn't have to be Saruman, it doesn't have to be any named character that we know. We haven't seen Alatar and Palando, so let's fucking see them. Let's do something. The writings are very scant and they're very contradictory. Some say that they turned evil and started leading cults of like dark magic, and others say that they actually repelled a vast host from the east of Easterlings. That, you know, if they'd have made it to if they'd have made it to where they were heading to, that, you know, the battle probably would have gone in Sauron's favor, because the vast troops amassing from the east would have absolutely wiped out the west, and it was down to the Blue Wizards that helped stop that and helped prevent that and thwarted a lot of their attacks and reduced their numbers. Which one you prefer, I mean, that's up to you, but I actually kind of like that there's a mystery there, that there's, within Tolkien's own Legendarium, he has like myths and legends themselves and things that we don't know about, which I always think is really fascinating and just sets the imagination on fire, basically. Tom Bombadil being the best example of that. The Watcher in the Water, where did that come from? You know, all of these things, Goldberry, and of course the Blue Wizards. So I love that he put some of that stuff in his Legendarium, and who knows, like, if he'd have lived longer and he'd have written more and he'd have fleshed out his world, maybe we would have had like an extensive history on all these characters. But I think some of them were intentionally left vague because he was so meticulous with his writings, especially on the history of the wizards, that it seems weird that he doesn't go into the Blue Wizards all that much. So maybe it was intentional, or maybe the guy just didn't have enough years, you know, to flesh all this stuff out. But exactly, and that's the thing, like, with that, you're still adapting Tolkien. And yes, you are. It is very much like a fan fiction because the writing isn't there to support it. But it's your example to get, you know, it's your chance to get creative. Take things that Tolkien wrote, the Blue Wizards, respect the lore that they went into the East. And, you know, you could go into the Easterlings if you want to have all, you know, your people of color in the show and everything like that. There's so much you could have done. There was so much potential with that. And they've just gone for the lowest common denominator, haven't they? They really have. Will says, I totally agree with what you say about narcissistic people who always want to be represented in fiction. People don't care about the story, the characters, and the lore. Yeah, but is this just like a modern thing? As I say, like when the Lord of the Rings films came out, hell, when the Hobbit came out, I don't remember people being like this. They just went to the cinema and they went to watch the fucking movies, and it was Tolkien being adapted on screen, and they went to watch them, and they either loved them if it was the Lord of the Rings films, or they were kind of indifferent to them, or downright didn't like them when it came to the Hobbit films. But no one complained, and now all of a sudden it's like a massive fucking issue. I don't get it. And the fact that I've seen these articles as well calling like Tolkien a racist and non-progressive and everything like that, I mean, it's fucking disgusting. That is actually fucking disgusting to like write articles like that and to, oh, we need to modernize Tolkien. It's like, no, you fucking don't. You don't need to modernize fucking Tolkien at all. You need to take Tolkien and you need to fucking adapt it. Or if you want to put your own agenda on it and your own thing, guess what? Don't be busying yourself around Tolkien. Adapt something else. Don't touch Tolkien if you're gonna, oh, this is great, this is okay, but you know, we need to modernize this for a modern 2022 audience. No, just don't fucking adapt Tolkien. Either adapt what's on the page. And here's the thing as well, like Tolkien, and I think why we're so protective of it is because it's a closed canon. You know, Tolkien penned the whole thing, and yes, you know, his son Christopher helped collate a lot of the writings and the pages. I mean, that was a mammoth task in and of itself. Like, definitely lived up to his father's reputation for that. Christ knows the level of organization that Christopher Tolkien, I mean, he must have been tearing his hair out trying to compile all of that stuff. And thanks to him, we have had the Silmarillion and the Children of Húrin and, you know, the great stories of Beren and Luthien and the Fall of Gondolin, the Unfinished Tales and the History of Middle-earth 12-volume series, which I do own and I still haven't read, and I really wish I had more hours in the day to pack as much stuff in as possible. But I would love to read them at some point. They're just nice to have in my collection at the moment, but I would love to read them. I think it'll be fascinating. You know, without him, we wouldn't have those stories would never have seen the light of day. And in my opinion, you know, The Hobbit's always my favorite book just because it's so simple. It wasn't Tolkien's first steps into the world of Middle-earth. Of course, he was penning things in little notebooks when he was in the goddamn trenches during the Battle of the Somme. Just the level, like, that is a man's man. Like, Christ almighty, everything that man went through is just a different class of man as far as I'm concerned. So the initial structure and some of the greater tales that would eventually find themselves in the Silmarillion were being penned by Tolkien even when he was in the trenches during World War One. But the first like proper step into Middle-earth, although it wasn't intended to be Middle-earth really at that point, was The Hobbit. And I just love how it's so episodic and it's so whimsical. And I think it's the best children's book ever written. And it's not just for children. It was written as a bedtime story for his kids, but you know, it's loved by adults. It's loved by all ages. It's just such a wonderful tale. Very traditional, you know, hero's journey, you know, attaining all of these items and weapons and whatnot, and the event, it's fucking wonderful. I love The Hobbit. But right beyond that, a lot of people would then go to The Lord of the Rings and say, oh, The Lord of the Rings is the greatest, you know, is the magnum opus of Tolkien. And I'd probably agree with that. It probably is his magnum opus, included with the appendices. But I absolutely adore the Silmarillion. I really genuinely do. And I think the Silmarillion, I actually prefer the Silmarillion to the Lord of the Rings to read. The imagery that's construed in there, the imagination behind it. And, you know, there is so much detail in it. But then even then, there's some moments where there isn't that much detail in the Silmarillion. You know, Ancalagon the Black, for example, the largest dragon that was ever spawned by Morgoth, is introduced and is then dispatched within maybe like a handful of sentences. But the imagery that's construed within those first sentences, I could fill a feature film for me. Like, when I read those sentences, that my mind just, like, the imagery, the battle that I picture when I see that, the image of this vast dragon that's taken down by Eärendil and it plummets from the sky. And I know this is up for artistic debate whether the body of Ancalagon the Black leveled all three mountains of Thangorodrim, but you know, there's pictures, size comparisons of the dragons, and Ancalagon the Black is ridiculous compared to everything else, but it's just wonderful. And, you know, to see that legacy, and of course, you know, Christopher Tolkien was very protective of the rights to the Lord of the Rings and to his father's legacy. And you know, sadly, he's passed away now, so maybe the rest of the Tolkien estate aren't as gatekeeping as Christopher and as protective as Christopher Tolkien was. So, and actually, I read somewhere, I mean, I should have read up on this before doing this live stream, but is it the rights to the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit have gone up for sale? Am I right with saying that? I thought Warner Brothers still, or is it the video games maybe I was thinking of, but I swear I saw somewhere that they're in talks of doing spin-off movies now, like an Aragorn spin-off movie and a Gandalf spin-off movie. And I thought, oh my God, this is the beginning of the end. This is the cash cow with every franchise. Nothing is sacred anymore, is it? I should have read up on that. I can't remember what studio it is, but I don't know why the rights to those would be up for sale, because I thought they were owned by New Line and MGM and Warner Brothers, and each one kind of had a stake in those films. So I don't know. I really don't know. Will says, I never felt represented in Lord of the Rings, but I didn't mind. The story and the characters were great, and I don't give shit about being represented. I just want a good story. Exactly. And here's the thing, like, the beauty of the Lord of the Rings story is that, and just, media in general, novels in general, is that you can apply your own trials and tribulations into the story itself. I know Tolkien didn't like allegory. So to, I don't know, view the Uruk-hai army and go, oh, well, this is an allegory of World War II, and Saruman is Hitler, and, the Nazis are the Uruk-hai, something like that. He didn't agree with all of that stuff. Whether you want to debate that and argue that, that's up to you. I think, by design, people like to look into real world things and apply it to, and they look at the life of Tolkien himself and what he must have seen in World War One and the horrors of war and everything, and apply that to the story. But Tolkien was very much against that. And whether you want to argue that there is a theme of death running out throughout the Lord of the Rings, and how everything must come to an end, and the wounds that Frodo sustains on his quest, and psychologically and physically from the Morgul wound, that he just can't go back to a normal life, and things have changed, and he needs to move on and sail into the West. And if you want to say, oh, well, the West is an allegory for heaven and paradise, and where all of your wounds can be healed, that's sort of a discussion. Of course you can have that discussion. I actually think there's probably a lot of truth in that. But just looking, the characters are like totems that you see, and you can be inspired by characters in media. And if you do connect with any kind of storytelling, from its most basic, from, bedtime stories to your full-blown feature films or television shows, it's a testament to storytelling to apply your own, to take what those characters have done in those stories or fables or short stories, whatever it happens to be, and apply it to your own life and carry life lessons away with you. And that's what great media is. It's what the original Star Wars trilogy is with Luke Skywalker, and it's what the Karate Kid films are to me with Daniel LaRusso and Mr. Miyagi, and the Rocky films. You take those life lessons with you, and any good film will do that. And films and novels, of course, have an impact on you, and it's why I love films, and why I'm passionate about the things that I'm passionate about. Some stories can just be purely for fun. Of course they can. I love me an 80s action film with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's not high art or anything like that, but they're just good fun. But it's like what Sam says. It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really matter. And those are the ones that stay with you, that mean something. Oh God, I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. I love that ending monologue to Two Towers, because when I watch that, I always apply that to the Lord of the Rings itself and the great stories that really matter being Tolkien's works. And it's just, yeah. I'm getting misty just thinking about that. I'm holding it together. It's just, yeah, what that man did. And the legacy that is left behind. And that's why it really boils my piss to say, I've used that phrase so much tonight. I haven't used that phrase in so long, and I love it. It's a phrase I absolutely adore. What I absolutely find repellent is to see what Amazon is doing to this man's legacy with this shit that is being presented and being, slapped the Lord of the Rings name on it and based on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. It's like, fuck off. No, it isn't. It's in name only. And yeah, that's what a good story is. You should just be inspired by the things that you see. And here's the thing: if people go like, "Oh, I want to be represented," and there's no commentary on this about racism or the struggles of race, it's like, well, no, there is. The dwarves and the elves are inherently racist with each other, which is why it's so fucking great to see the relationship blossom between Gimli and Legolas, and that bromance, and they sail in the west and into the west together, and they put aside their differences and they grow to love each other as comrades, and brothers in arms. There's your commentary on racism right there. Now, do you have to have someone of color in your film or anything to show that? No, you don't, because that speaks through the characters and the themes of the story. It just takes a little bit of intelligence, just takes a little bit up here to extrapolate that. Sorry. We're on like frame 1 of this trailer. Oh, this is how I go. I've got shit to do tonight as well. I've got guitar to practice. Like, I can't be on this for hours, but I think I'm going to be. And I'm just loving this conversation. This is great. You know, we've got people watching, we've got people commenting. This is why I love doing what I do. Nikki says they won't for the same reason Star Wars won't leave the Skywalker timeline. Evil cannot create, it can only mock. Yeah. I absolutely agree with that, and it's making a mockery of those characters already. This isn't Elrond. This is nothing like Elrond. Fucking Celebrimbor. Jesus, how? Oh God, Celebrimbor. His grandfather, if I'm remembering rightly, I think it's his grandfather. Feanor is Celebrimbor's grandfather, and you know both are like really great at smithcraft and creating things. Right? Feanor hit on Galadriel. Celebrimbor's grandfather Feanor made a pass at Galadriel. Have you seen how old the actor is playing Celebrimbor in this show? Like, how wrong could they fucking be? Like, did they even read the books? I don't think they did. It's an absolute fucking travesty. It's just, yeah. Oh, don't get me started on the sequel trilogy as well, because that would be a video for another time. Ungoliant on screen would be overtake. Yeah, oh God, yeah, I would love that. Is actually one of my single favorite moments of the Silmarillion, and it's where the whole bit where Ungoliant's sucking the light out of the trees, and you know Morgoth gets the Silmarils, and Ungoliant makes a pass for those, and she grabs Morgoth, and he's about to die, and he screams out in that valley, and I forgot what that valley's called, but it mentions that every time someone shouts, the echo of that voice almost reverberates Morgoth's scream from like years back. And he calls out, and his legion of Balrogs come to his aid, and they lash their like fiery whips around Ungoliant and eventually make Ungoliant flee. That is such a cool image. And there's like pictures of that and everything you can find on Google that, you know, people have done, you know, like great artists out there. It's so great. Yeah. And that's what I mean. There's so many of those moments. And in all fairness, I don't think you could do that justice on a small screen. I think you would need a feature film budget for that. And even then, to adapt the Silmarillion, I don't think you can adapt it as it's presented. I think you'd have to pick a few stories from it and adapt it over the course of it. It would be an anthology series, essentially. And yeah, you'd have some characters who come back into it and are reoccurring. But I mean, apparently, well, I don't know if we will now, to be honest, with everything that's happened. But when they confirmed 5 Fantastic Beasts movies, I was like, oh, imagine if they confirmed 5 Silmarillion movies, how you could structure that. You know, you'd have your prologue, which would be the creation of the world and the, you know, the music of the Ainur and everything like that, and establishing Morgoth, maybe the birth of the firstborn, with the elves being born and the men. There's just so much. There's so much you could do with it. And each, you know, and then movie 2 could be shit, I don't know, Beren and Luthien. And then movie 3 could be the Children of Húrin. Movie 4 could be the Fall of Gondolin, maybe, maybe something else. And then the last movie could be the Fall of Númenor or something like that. That is, oh God, don't get my hopes up, because that would be great. With a director that is actually, you know, fit for the task. Augusto says, I think Amazon should explore the region of Harad and Haradrim and their connection to Sauron and the Númenor. Exactly. And there's so much fertile ground there that you could explore. Like, not only, you know, again, if they're going into it with like a box ticking format, and it's like, you know, we want more representation in this show, we want more people of color. Great. Boom. Let's start writing. Let's think how we can integrate this. Excellent. Let's show Harad and the Haradrim. Let's show the Easterlings. And yeah, their connection to Sauron. This is all about the rise of Sauron again, and, you know, the evil cults out there. And apparently we do have like an evil cult in this one, which we'll get to as we go through the trailer, with the bald-headed Prometheus-looking characters in the white robes. You know, if it's going to be some kind of weird cult to Morgoth or cult to Sauron, that would have been a great way to introduce it. As well as that, you could introduce the Blue Wizards, who apparently also had ties to, you know, evil cults. And, you know, there's just so much you could have done. So much you could have done that would have stayed true to the lore and would have been legitimately interesting to watch. But unfortunately, we get none of that. Mythic Dawn. Hello, Gavna. How you doing, man? Hope you're keeping well. Nikki says, didn't Ungoliant disappear to Harad? Am I wrong? I don't think she disappeared to Harad. I think she... I forgot the name now. Something Gortheb. And it was forever known as this like really dark realm where she just like spawned like a bunch of her offspring, one of which of course is Shelob. Let me find real quick. Here we go. She fled and the Balrogs prepared to pursue her, destroy her, but they were checked by Morgoth, who ordered them to return with him to Angband. Ungoliant's attack on Morgoth left an echoing scream ever after on the land, giving the area the name Lamoth, where it was said that any clamour would echo back from surrounding hills with his voice. Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. Driven off by the Balrogs, Ungoliant fled to Nan Dungortheb. That's it, Nan Dungortheb. Or Nan Dungortheb. Was the name of the wilderness south of Ered Gorgoroth and Dorthonion, east of Dimbar and the river Mindeb, west of Dor Dinan and Esgalduin, and north of Neldareth and Doriath. Let's see. Oh, Dorthonion. Okay, was Highland of the First Age immediately. Was this one of the ones that was sank beneath the waves? Was it destroyed during the yeah, Town of Fuin was mostly destroyed in the War of Wrath. Okay, so it's likely, I don't know if it's ever confirmed in the source material then. So Ungoliant fled to Nan Dangortheb, which I think was a region that was, you know, populated in like the Silmarillion, which would eventually have been destroyed during the War of Wrath, because then you're just left with Middle Earth, that whole western portion of the map that used to be there. I mean, that's a climactic fucking battle, isn't it? Like tectonic shifts, continents literally crumbling into dust and sinking beneath the waves. So maybe Ungoliant was involved in that. Or maybe she escaped somewhere. So who knows? It's interesting, but I think it's likely that she was pretty much destroyed, especially, you know, a corporeal form from the actual void, you know, like actual embodiment of darkness. I don't think something like that would still be hanging around during the time of the War of the Rings. So I'm pretty sure that Ungoliant was destroyed or cast into the void from whence she came. Anyway, let's continue. We're 7 seconds in. Oh Christ, let's get through this a little bit quicker. Come on, let's do it.
Hunting the enemy. His task is now mine.
Okay, my brother gave his life. What was it? My brother gave his life
hunting the enemy.
Hunting the enemy.
His task is now mine.
And now she's going to do that. Okay. Look at these ships right here, though. Like, the textures don't look finished. I mean, granted, there's a couple of weeks left, so maybe they're still working on the effects, but the ships just look really glossy, don't they? They look like PlayStation cutscene graphics. Well, actually, I don't know. There's just no texture to the ships. Is that just me? Oh, God, this song again. You know, so this is Numenor. You know, we've seen this before, the ships arriving and everything, and it seems like this is the theme they're going for, this kind of sun crest. Seems to be a running theme with Numenor.
Stand with me.
See, this was the shot I was... Oh, here we go. Stand with me. Oh, look at all those men ready to receive that stunning and brave leadership from Galadriel right now. It's just... the way it's shot as well. It's just so transparent of what they're trying to do here, and this isn't Galadriel's character. Galadriel is is easily one of the most powerful beings in Middle Earth, but not when it comes to swordplay and fucking battle. That's not who she is. That's not what she does. That's not her modus operandi. And look at this. I tell you what it looks like. Even the body. Do you remember Ryan Reynolds in Green Lantern, where they just, well, actually most modern Marvel movies now, where they'll just have like a CGI body with the head stuck on top? It just looks so fakey fake. Everything from like the artificial lighting to the graphics in the background and just everything. It's kind of that uncanny valley effect that was ever present throughout the Hobbit films, and it's just ugly to look at. It's just... Am I way off base with this? It just looks like they've taken the actress's head, cropped around it with green screen, and just stuck it on a CGI body. Is that just me? But I think that's just the lighting. It's the digital cameras and the look of it. It's just... I don't know. Everything just looks fake. Nothing looks real. So this guy right here, if I'm remembering correctly, is King Elendil. Well, he's not king at the moment, but this is the guy from the prologue. This is Isildur's father who was killed by Sauron at the Battle of Dagorlad. This is the guy who just gets fucking smacked by Sauron into a wall. You know, it was in this moment when all hope had faded that Isildur, son of the king, took up his father's sword. This is that guy. So he's part of the faithful. He's one of the guys that escaped. Of course, he does. Escapes the fall of Numenor because he remained faithful to the gods and didn't want to rise up against Eru and the Ainur. And as such, he was given safe passage to Middle-earth, where eventually he and his kin would form the realms of Gondor and other such associated places. So yeah, this is Elendil.
What fate?
This fucking
What
song.
destiny?
A dwarf who actually looks like a dwarf.
Or
Okay,
is the work of something
then we have this fucking this model right here. Apparently, this pretty boy character they're going to have, who's going to be this. I tell you what, this reminds me of actually. This reminds me of some like a higher budget version of the kind of TV shows that you had with The Legend of Hercules and Xena Warrior Princess. You know, that kind of sort of low budgety, tongue-in-cheek kind of stuff to it. But whereas those both of those shows had like infinite charm and charisma in the actors, and it was, you know, like some fun escapism, this just looks terrible. But it looks like that kind of vibe to this show, but with more of a budget. Like it's got a huge budget behind it, but it still feels and looks really cheap. It's difficult to pin it down.
greater.
So I'm guessing this is just going to be elven children, maybe, potentially. I mean, fuck, I don't know. I mean, all the elves have short hair now, so yeah, this could be men or elves. I'm pretty sure this is going to be elves, though. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, look at this shit. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. What is this? This is going to be our like weird. There's some boss-eyed stuff going on right here. You know, one eye looking at you, one eye looking for you, kind of thing. I think this is some kind of cult to Sauron, and I mean, we can tell they're clearly evil because, you know, they've got all these kind of medallions hanging from them that have got like all horrible, twisted, tortured faces on them, and I mean, what the fuck is this? What the actual fresh fuck is this? Now, I know that when it comes to Numenor, when Sauron is imprisoned by Ar-Pharazôn and taken back to Numenor, and over the course of a number of years, Sauron eventually starts to corrupt the minds of the men there and Ar-Pharazôn himself, and eventually brings about the destruction of Numenor, which leads to its fall. He gets in, you know, he's a master manipulator. And they do mention that Sauron, you know, this did lead to evil cults and everything, and human sacrifice and whatnot, and all kinds of manners of debauchery and like horrible, horrific things. But I don't know who these guys are, or women, or gender neutral people, whoever they happen to be. Help me out here, guys. What are we looking at? What are we looking at? The pretty boy looks like a wannabe Aragorn. Yeah, I completely agree. Just not this pretty boy right here, or pretty woman. I still don't know. The previous character that we saw. Yeah, God, this show. Jesus. Augusto says, teaser with the orcs looks scary in 0.75 speed. I actually think that the only thing that's come out about this show so far that looks somewhat faithful are the orcs. You know, I don't prefer the designs to the Peter Jackson films, but they're the only things that actually look in keeping. Like, I'll look at them and go, you know what, that's an orc. That is an orc. Congratulations, Amazon. You've actually got people in costume and they look like orcs. Nikki says, can you play the Shire song on guitar? It depends. Define play on guitar. If it was just the melody line, I could probably work it out given some time. If you're talking about some kind of like classical guitar thing where I'm playing the chords and some like really impressive arrangement, then probably not. Hopefully one day, because I would actually love to take up classical guitar at some point and have more of an understanding about harmony and chord construction and more fluidity on the instrument, but it's a steady process. But I don't know. Maybe I'll give you a recital or something next live stream if I can work it out. I could probably work out like just single notes, like the main line. Eminem Sauron. Yeah, will the real Anatar, bringer of gifts, please stand up? Like, yeah, fingerstyle I'd love to be able to do. Hopefully one day. It's something that I'd absolutely love to do. Right, let's continue because I can't bear to see this on screen any longer. Okay, so here we've got Meteor Man. We've got what I'm assuming is Gandalf the Grey. These things right here, I'm really hoping these aren't our design for the wargs right here, because I saw these rocking up. And look at that thing right there. It looks like a tapir. Or it looks like some kind of wild boar or something. You know, it's got like the snout that kind of looks more like a tapir with a nose. No, oh my god, I tell you what it looks like. Did anyone see that film Annihilation with Natalie Portman? I think it was on Netflix. There's a scene in that film where there's like this zombie bear. There's like this sort of like genetically modified bear that rocks up, and it's kind of like partially decomposing, and it's got like the skull, and it's this really creepy thing. It's genuinely like the best scene in the whole film. It kind of reminds me of that, but are these meant to be our wargs? I'm not sure. Augusto says Hobbit is back there. Hobbit is back there. I'm trying to look for the Hobbit. Is the Hobbit back there?
Each of us.
Hang on, let me take that back real quick. Just see if I'm missing something. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, in the middle of the screen right there. Yep. So just looking at this, I'm trying to think. I was wondering if this was the site where the meteor lands, because I'm looking at a lot of the burnt trees and everything and the scorched earth a little bit, but maybe not. Because I know that it looks like in the trailer, the hobbits go in search of this meteor. They see it flying through the sky. They see it crash land. And, behind the meteor. Yeah, so maybe this is the crash site then. Maybe they go there and investigate, because it's at nighttime, isn't it? And he's like completely butt naked. So he's going to have to find this shroud from somewhere. I don't know whether they make one for him, so this might be some time after, and then they're going to get ambushed by whatever the fuck these things are. We get a closer look here in this next shot. Like, what are these? The wargs? Are these meant to be our wargs, or are they werewolves? Or I hate it. I hate it. I hate the design of these things. I think probably the most book accurate depiction of the wargs that we've seen, and I hate to say this, is probably in the Hobbit films, where they are just kind of like wolves. My favorite designs personally are the ones in Two Towers, because they look like real creatures. They look like some kind of weird mutated hyena bear-like creature, and I really like the designs of them in Two Towers. And obviously when you get to the Hobbit, they completely changed the design of them. I guess you could argue that these are Gundabad wargs. These aren't the Saruman created wargs that you could have modified them or something like that. These are like the original Gundabad wargs. So I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of other creatures in Middle Earth. I mean, there probably are quite a few. But just because these are traveling in a pack and they're kind of wolf-like to a respect, my guess is that these would be the wargs, but who knows? I don't know. Augusto thinks that they're not wargs. So I guess we'll find out in the... I was going to ask this question, actually. Do you think all the footage that we're seeing within these trailers, because they are repeating a lot of the footage quite a lot of times, do you think this is from the first 2 episodes that are going to be released, or maybe like the first 3 episodes or something like that? I don't think anything they're showing at the minute is, really, really late in the game. I could be wrong.
Each of us.
Shot of Gil-galad right there. Who, out of all the characters that's been depicted in this show so far, is the only one that actually kind of looks more or less accurate. to his book counterpart. So nothing necessarily against Gil Galad at the moment, I'll say. Will says, even the Hobbit trilogy felt true to Tolkien compared to this. Yeah, it did. And that's going to be the thing. I think it's going to be very interesting how it only takes something to come out that's, you know, definitively worse than the thing that came out before. It's the same thing with the Star Wars prequels. You know, the original trilogy comes out, it's fucking incredible, completely changed cinema. The prequels came out, and I was a prequel hater. And I will admit, like, I've come around to the prequels a bit more now. And I definitely see a lot more of the positives in them, but inherently they are deeply flawed films. Even still, you know, there's a lot of problems with the Star Wars prequels. But then the sequel trilogy came out, and it just makes you look back at the prequels and go, oh, hang on, now actually this was an original story that was being told. It's a new aesthetic. There's, you know, bold new visuals in there, new vehicle designs, alien designs, loads of new planets to get to grips with. And although it's a little bit cumbersome in terms of the screenwriting, there is a story that's being told there. And then it makes you go back and go, maybe those prequel films weren't as bad as I thought. It just takes something to come out that's a lot worse than, you know, 7, 8, and 9. And I think it's going to be the case with this as well. I think this is going to come out and we're going to go back to those Hobbit films and go, you know what, actually, maybe they weren't as bad as I thought. Obviously, I'm kind of biased because I spent a lot of time with those films, you know, with my fan edit on there. Christ, I was working on that fan edit for 8 years. So I definitely watched the Hobbit films more times than I care to mention. But the thing is with the Hobbit films, as hopefully I've showcased in my fan edit, and as loads of other people who have fan edited the Hobbit as well, is that at its core, Peter Jackson was telling the story of the Hobbit. It was very much diluted with a whole bunch of shit that didn't need to be in there, and with a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't from the book. But if you strip that away and you keep it to its bare bones, it does tell the story of the Hobbit. Maybe as not as in as focused or tonally consistent way that is true to the Hobbit book itself, but the story is there. There's a through line, which, yeah, we'll see when we get to this, won't we? Right, let's continue. Let's get through it.
Everyone.
Oh, God. So we've got Queen Tarmiriel. I mentioned this last time. So we've got a race-swapped Tarmiriel, and she shouldn't be queen. The whole thing in the source material was that she was about to be queen. The throne was hers by rights and would have passed to her. But Ar-Pharazôn forcibly made her marry him so that he could get the throne and he could have leadership, because Ar-Pharazôn is not a good dude. Ar-Pharazôn is a complete son of a bitch in the Silmarillion. And indeed the appendices. But here we need to fill our quota for more strong, independent, you know, talking down to men, female characters. And here we go. We have Queen Miriel, who's going to go on a lovely side quest with Galadriel, because, you know, Galadriel went to Numenor apparently now. It's just bullshit. Just look at this shot. Look at the costume design. This is what I said last time. The costume design for this show looks so fucking cheap and like Amdram Panto kind of thing. Imagine Peter Jackson if he'd have done, you know, even then, like, he had roots to Numenor and everything like that, and the architecture, you know, Gondor and the armor they had and everything like that. There was a history there, and of course, you know, Minas Tirith itself and a lot of the surrounding kingdoms were inherently based on Numenor itself and the history and vast culture that the Numenorians had. Looking at this just looks like a still from this could be a still from the new House of the Dragon series of Game of Thrones. If you show me this, nothing about this looks Lord of the Rings-ish, and it certainly doesn't look like fucking Numenor. Nothing about it, from the architecture to the way they dress. I mean, look at all these people. I was under the impression that Numenorians were like, it was like men on roids. You know, it was like human beings on roids, that they were the most sort of like genetically perfect. You know, they were physically fit. They were tall. They were taller than the average man. They were well built. They were well kept. You know, of course, because they had that elvish blood in them as well. And that's why they have, you know, longer lifespan than normal humans. And here it just looks like the common peasantry a little bit. And just look at the clothes. Like, it's just, all of it's mismatched. There's not any kind of uniform design to it. There's nothing in the architecture is really screaming any kind of history to it or or lineage or proud heraldry. There's nothing. It just looks like the Iron Throne could be behind Queen Miriel right there. And as I say, it wouldn't look out of place in Game of Thrones. It's just the costume design and everything. Oh, look at this fucking guy on the left. Like, is he carrying a poster tube? Is he going to Comic-Con? Like, what's going on with this shit? You've got loads of sort of like bright oranges, and there's like a whole sun theme going on. It looks like the Martells. Isn't that the Martell crest in Game of Thrones? It's the sun with the spear through it, isn't it? If I remember rightly. This just looks terrible. It just looks terrible. There we go. That's our fair Queen Tarmiriel right there. Straight out of the book, apparently. Anyway, let's continue.
Must decide.
So this is Ar-Pharazôn. He is not king at this point. He is not King Ar-Pharazôn, and I think he is an advisor. And I think he's just called Pharazôn. So I don't know what they're going to do with that, whether they'll do the whole marriage thing later on. And even Ar-Pharazôn, just the way he's dressed, just... And here's the thing as well, just Numenor, looking at the faces of all these people in the crowd, Numenor shouldn't be a multicultural, multiracial nation. Like, it just isn't. It just isn't. Like, that's not what Numenor is. And again, it now kind of throws a spanner in the works in terms of the actual history and lineage and geography of the world of Numenor itself. Like, it shouldn't be multicultural because people wouldn't venture there. People, can't. Only the Numenorians resided on Numenor, and they did trade with people and everything like that. But they had a couple of elven visitors. If you read the Unfinished Tales, they had relations with the elves and everything like that. But you wouldn't have this. You wouldn't have this kind of social structure. You wouldn't have this layout. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't have this civilization. Anyway, let's continue. What the fuck is going on with this stripe? Look at this striped outfit, these striped dresses. Everything's mismatched, and it's like a hodgepodge of color, and it just looks so fucking bad. Anyway, let's continue. I'm trying to think who this character is. I don't know if this is the same guy that finds the Morgul blade that we've seen in other trailers. I can't remember, but this is more seafaring. Whatever.
We shall be.
I'm a broken record at this point, so let's just continue. But this is not Tolkien's Middle Earth, and it just throws a spanner in the works for the whole cultures and everything in Middle Earth. So it's just generic fans. And here's the thing, like as we said earlier, like with this, like if this was Elder Scrolls, absolutely fine, 100% would not have a problem with this because it's true to its lore. This is not true to its lore. This is not true to Tolkien's lore and the lore of the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion and the Greater Legendarium. This is impossible. And Peter Jackson knew that as well, hence the Lord of the Rings, hence the Hobbit. You don't get any of that shit. But with this one, now it's a thing, apparently. Let's continue.
I am not the hero you seek.
I am not the hero you seek. Yeah, discount Aragorn right here. He's on some kind of shipwreck, and you've got the whole thing with Galadriel as well. And I swear to Christ, if they do some kind of like budding love story between Galadriel and this handsome man, then I'm calling bullshit. Because apparently I've read as well that, or I've heard at least, that Celeborn, Galadriel's husband, who she should be married to at this point, is dead in this story. Because, we can't have a male spouse, a male counterpart talking to Galadriel or giving her counsel or talking to her as a spouse. She's got to be a strong, single, independent woman, and she's got to get that job done herself, So if that's true, and they've killed Celeborn off screen just to push that agenda, then that's fucked. And again, if this is meant to be the Lord of the Rings prequel, makes no sense.
Whatever it was you did, be free of it.
Here we go. Hang on.
Whatever it was.
So here we go. Let me hear this again. I'm not the hero you seek.
Whatever it was you did, be free of it.
Whatever you be free of it. She's just. They're both in battle armor here, and he's probably having doubts. But it's Galadriel the one who talks him out of it, because she's clearly a better warrior than he is and is more capable in battle, and she has seen more than anyone else, remember, even more than Elrond. Elrond's gone through countless shit, but oh no, she's better and more important than Elrond because she's seen more. And you don't know what you're talking about, Elrond, so pipe the fuck down because Galadriel's in town. And yeah, I mean, look at it right here. This looks like a Brienne of Tarth prequel series. Again, that makes sense to its lore in Westeros, into Game of Thrones. And if this was a story about Brienne of Tarth and she was acting like this, then absolutely, because the lore is different. Why is she wearing blush? That's a very good point. Oh God, it just looks so... And again, if you showed me that shot right there and you said, right, which fantasy work is this adapting? I'd say Game of Thrones. Instantly, I would say Game of Thrones. I certainly wouldn't be saying Lord of the Rings. And that's meant to be Galadriel. That is meant to be Galadriel. Let's just think about that for a second. This is meant to be Cate Blanchett, Galadriel, ethereal elven queen, witch, whatever you want to call her, infinitely powerful mage. This is that same character.
Be free of it.
One day this will be your kingdom.
Yeah, she's American, isn't she?
One day this will be your kingdom.
One day this will be your kingdom. Like, this will be your kingdom. And it's like, what? So let's listen to that again. It sounds like she starts to do the kind of like dwarven hobbity accent, and then just segues into American. Like, she's not even trying to put like on a faux English accent like a lot of the actors do in Lord of the Rings. Hang on.
Be free of it.
One day this...
It's like, one day. It kind of sounds a little bit Irish at the beginning, like one day. And then it just segues into American. Listen to this shit. One day this will be your kingdom. And it, oh my God, what the fuck? Why has she got Sith eyes? Look at her fucking eyes there. It looks like she's about to go, I hate you. You were my sister, Dees. I loved you. Like, look at her eyes. She looks fucking evil. Dwarven Queen, everyone. No beard, and as we've said, impossible. It's not even a potential in Tolkien's mythology. It's impossible. It's law breaking. It makes no sense. And you know, I'm sure the actress is fine if she could have put on a fucking English accent, or even if she put on some kind of, you know, other accent. You know, if she was some kind of Haradrim, like chieftain or something, or chieftain's wife, or you know, something like that, or queen of the Haradrim, sure. Dwarven queen, absolutely fucking not. Just makes no sense. Will says, I would kill to watch a Silmarillion trilogy by Peter Jackson as long as he doesn't repeat the same mistakes he did for the Hobbit. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And here's the thing, like, I don't know how I would structure you'd have to cut out so much of the Silmarillion, which, you know, it's an absolute crime because there's so much good stuff in the Silmarillion. If you were going to do a trilogy, of the Silmarillion, would you keep it to being more of a Lord of the Rings prequel? Would you start it in the Second Age, do you think? Would you have it be movie one would be... I guess your last movie needs to be the creation of the Rings of Power, doesn't it? And that whole thing. Movie 2, you probably need to do the Fall of Gondolin. Not the Fall of Gondolin, sorry. You need to do the Fall of Numenor. So what would you do for movie 1? Like, I feel like you could do a prologue of some kind. Again, you'd be missing out on a whole lot of stuff. But if you skip over Morgoth and everything and all the juicy stuff and Beren and Luthien, I think Beren and Luthien would be cool because that's a precursor to the whole Aragorn and Arwen stuff. I don't think you could do it. Excuse me. I don't think you could do it as a trilogy. I think it needs to be 5 films. And that's just me being greedy because I want to see all these stories. I want to see Ungoliant. I want to see Glaurung. I want to see Ancalagon the Black and Eärendil. And I want to see the Fall of Gondolin and the Battle of Unnumbered Tears and the Naiath and Anoidiad, the War of Wrath. I want to see all of that shit. So, yeah. But you know. I've even said as well, I mean, they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion itself, but I really hope that the War of the Rohirrim anime that's being done by Warner Brothers, I really hope that's a success. I hope it's truer to Tolkien than this certainly is. I know that Philippa Boyens is involved in the making of it. I think she's a producer on it. The casting so far for the voice acting, Brian Cox as Helm Hammerhand is tremendous. You've got Miranda Otto coming back, so maybe she's going to be some kind of narration in there. And I think you just have more freedom with animation. And I'm really genuinely looking forward to seeing how that anime style looks, especially for Middle Earth and for the world of Lord of the Rings. If that's a success, I think the Silmarillion would work beautifully actually as an anime. And I think just from some of the biblical massive scale stuff that would be really tough to show in a film and do justice to it, and especially the budget constraints, I think with animation you'd have so much more free reign and just really make it visually interesting. And I'd love that actually. I've really come around to the anime idea now with it. Will says, I think for movie 1 it could be Beren and Luthien, movie 2 Children of Húrin, and okay, so you'd keep it to the main tales then. Yeah, no, that could work. I think certainly the first two, Beren and Luthien, the Children of Húrin, the Fall of Gondolin. I mean, there's more of a through line there, isn't there, with the Children of Húrin into the Fall of Gondolin, because those stories are intrinsically linked, especially at the beginning with the uncovering of the location to Morgoth as to where Gondolin is. But then you're missing out a lot on the Lord of the Rings connective tissue, like the Fall of Númenor, the creation of the Rings of Power and Sauron and everything like that. That I feel like if you were making films of it, I think looking at how diligently, like over the top diligently, Peter Jackson wanted to tie the Hobbit films into the Lord of the Rings, I think it would be unavoidable for him to not tie the Silmarillion into the Lord of the Rings. And I just think, you know, hypothetically, if a studio was making it, they'd still be banking on that Lord of the Rings stuff, and they'd want as many callbacks and, you know, lead-ins into it as possible. So I think they probably have to go into that Númenor stuff, and yeah, I don't know. The trilogy could end with the defeat of Morgoth and the destruction of Beleriand. Yeah, I mean, I'd be, as a self-contained trilogy that's not massively directly linked into the Lord of the Rings and everything like that, and is a neat piece of history, I would absolutely love that. I would. But I just think, you know, with Peter Jackson, he loves his references. And we see that in the behind the scenes. He's like, oh, we've got to have old Bilbo. We've got to have Frodo show up for a cameo. We've got to have lines like, that's my wee lad, Gimli. And you got to have all these visual callbacks to the Lord. I think he'd do the same thing. I genuinely do. Right, let's continue, because these Sith eyes are just terrifying me right now. So let's just continue right now.
This will be your kingdom. Your kingdom.
So we've seen this shot before. Elrond. Oh my fucking god! A dwarf that actually looks like a dwarf. Are they going to do some kind of political intrigue going on here? They're going to try and kill the king of the dwarves. So this is Durin the Third, to my understanding. And the dwarf that we saw before, where Disa, or whatever her name is, was saying, this will be your kingdom. Yeah, I'm thinking, oh shit, is she like evil now or something? And they want to dispatch Durin the Third. There should be a reverence for Durin the Third. I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole with the lore right now, but the line of Durin is like a sacred line of the dwarves, a very well-respected line of the dwarves. They believe that Durin will, you know, from Durin the First and everything, Durin will be reincarnated. He is a reincarnation. So the very fact right now that you've got Durin the Third and Durin the Fourth existing at the same time makes no sense, because the whole point is that the spirit of Durin is meant to die and then be reincarnated in the form of another dwarf. That's the whole point of it. And you've got the Balrog in there that we've seen in the previous trailer as well, which wasn't discovered until Durin the Sixth. So it's all fucked. It's all fucked. Let's continue. But hey, fair, you know, credit where credit's due. This is a dwarf that looks like a dwarf. An impressive beard. Got, you know, the nose and everything, the stature and the costume and everything. Like, yeah, that's a dwarven king. Fair enough. They got something right. This is good. So this is on Numenor, and I'm guessing that's the precursor to the tree of Gondor, which we saw this in the previous trailer. Actually, sort of the petals flying off the trees into the streets, and everyone looking really worried. You've got Queen Tarmiriel, who sees all of the petals falling off the trees and looks up to the sky and is very, very worried. You know, in the Lord of the Rings films, the Tree of Gondor is a symbol of hope. And actually, I don't think the Tree of Gondor was in the Lord of the Rings book, if I remember rightly. I think that once all said and done, if I remember rightly, they go and get a sapling, go and get a seedling from a tree that's in the mountains nearby to Minas Tirith and then plant it at the end of the film. But within the film they had, which actually I thought was a really good decision, actually, was to have that nice visual signifier of, you know, a lack of hope being no bloom on the tree, and it's this dying withered tree, and it's, you know, it's the fall of man, isn't it? It's the hopelessness, it's the futility of men at that point. But when hope starts to spring, literally the blossoms start to appear on the tree. So right now you've got a tree that's in full bloom, visually signifying the might of Numenor at this point, that it's at full power, and now the petals are starting to drift in the wind. So something bad's coming. You know, there's an omen, which is leading to the fall of Numenor. Will says during the third is actually the only character that looks like a character from Tolkien's work. Yeah, I know, it's surprising, isn't it? The orcs don't look too bad, I will say that. And yeah, during the third, I don't know what's going on with this show. I really don't. Let's continue. Oh, Galadriel. Yeah, because she's on. Of course, Galadriel's on Numenor. Why wouldn't she be? Because that was clearly written about in the books that Galadriel took a fucking side quest to Numenor. Like, she's got enough fucking time in her day to do that shit as well. And this stunning and brave shot. You know, this dramatic trailer image of, oh, there is a fell voice on the air. You know, ooh. Slow motion running orcs. Chasing slow motion, 300 slow motion.
Any creature in all Middle Earth.
So what? Oh, what's this shot here?
Better than any.
So that's the orcs mobilizing right here. What about here?
Creature in all Middle Earth.
Are these meant to be the orcs as well? Yeah, they're kind of misshapen. You can kind of see them like all. You got like a fat orc there on the front. Yeah, they're bent over and hunched over. So I'm trying to see this character. So this guy's in armor. Now, his ear kind of looks like an elf, or obviously the orcs were fallen elves, weren't they? Is this guy an orc? He doesn't look like an orc. You know, the hair and everything, the longer hair. And is this going to be Sauron leading the orcs, or like, who do we think this is?
Creature in all Middle Earth.
Yeah, because you can see the plate mail here kind of reflected in the fire. But these orcs are, someone's leading these orcs. Someone's
creature in all Middle Earth.
Is this someone? This doesn't look like these orcs are about to attack. They don't look battle ready. It looks like they're kind of gathered and are worshipping this person. You know, the camera angle suggests that this person's important. But then again, we've got like a scratch there. You know, we've got a scar. It looks like this guy's been in battle. So has this person just been surrounded by orcs and they're about to attack? But why wouldn't they attack? What do we think? What do we think with this stuff? Will, this is regarding during the third. Will says, although his crown looks a bit ridiculous, I would imagine the king of Durin wearing a golden crown. Yeah, he'd be encrusted with jewels, showing his wealth, showing his prowess. Yeah. That was all about the dwarves, wasn't it? I mean, they were always, they coveted gold and precious metals, and they loved that stuff. They are dwarves. They mine. That's what they do. And they were doing that shit before they were even given the Rings of Power. The Rings of Power just sort of exacerbated that pre-existing trait among the dwarves and kind of corrupted them and made them overly greedy, which made them delve too deep and too greedily, which led to the whole Balrog and Durin's Bane. Nikki says they are going to make Guy Ladbro an insufferable bin. Yeah, he's going to be an insufferable bin. We've got Galadriel, who's going to be an insufferable bin. Disa, like the writing, everything that we've seen from this trailer so far, the writing is absolutely terrible. So on the nose and so transparent. It's actually Augusto says that this is Adar or Adar. I think it's Adar, which I'm guessing is going to be a precursor to Anatar, right? Can they not call him Anatar? Have they got to call him Adar? I don't know. Let's continue.
We stay true to each other.
So we've got hobbits with a wagon. Hobbits with a wagon.
Stay true to each other.
I think that's Lenny Henry at the front, isn't it? Is that Lenny Henry or something? I'm not sure. Oh, God. Oh, God. This is Elrond.
To each other.
This is Elrond. Dude, we got fucking Celebrimbor there as well. Old man Celebrimbor. What the actual shit is this? You know, they're at Gil Galad's high table. Again, Gil Galad's the only one they've kind of got right as well. Offering an apple to Gandalf. Meet him. Why is Gandalf a meteor man? Why does Gandalf crash land to Earth on a meteor like the fucking Transformers from Michael Bay? Like, the wizards weren't aliens. The wizards weren't extraterrestrials. Not really. They you know, I mean, they're angels, you know, they're like demigods. Like, why are we doing this? There's like a kind of Jesus Christ thing going on right now.
Even bigger.
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, like, look at this, how he's talking to the camera. Wait, what was he saying?
We stay true to each other. With our hearts. Even bigger than our feet.
Hearts even bigger than our feet. That's a line. And he addresses the camera, almost breaking the fourth wall. These are hobbits, and our hearts are bigger than our feet. Let me take this back. Let me comprehend what is being said here.
Creature in all Middle Earth.
Any creature in Middle Earth.
We stay true to each other.
We stay true to each other.
With our hearts.
With our hearts.
Even bigger than our feet.
Even bigger than our feet. Who's he looking at? Who's he addressing right now? They're not going to do this fourth wall breaking shit, are they? Because that's just going to be absolutely diabolical. This looks like some kind of caption. You can just imagine, like, I don't know, Bull Roar Tuck or something, like, coming up in the bottom right hand corner, like Harfoot, you know, like, of this, you know. Oh, God Almighty. This is the most perplexing shot. Why are they doing that? Why is he addressing the camera? Okay, we've got some kind of we mentioned this last time, didn't we? Some kind of like sea serpent going on. And what do we think that Galadriel's gonna overpower this sea monster with the power of magic? I think I'm gonna call it right now. You know how Rey in Star Wars, in Rise of Skywalker, she's confronted with that giant snake, and she's like, stand back, and she's like Steve Irwin, and she's like, crikey, that's a blinder. And then she like calms it down with the Force and heals its wounds because, you know, Rey's fucking perfect at everything, and overpowers a snake. That's what's going to happen. They're going to get attacked by this sea monster. Galadriel's going to enter the water, and she's going to use some kind of elven magic or some kind of bullshit to calm that monster down. I'm calling it right now. I think that's what's going to happen. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Our hearts are even bigger than our feet. 10 out of 10 dialogue. Fucking genius. Oh. Could you imagine that at the start of Fellowship of the Ring as well, with Bilbo writing There and Back Again? You know, concerning hobbits. Dun, 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 dun. Well, what can I tell you? Our hearts are even bigger than our feet. Like, it's disgusting. It's terrible dialogue. Let's continue. Yep, saving him as well. Oh God, yeah, because we've got a forbidden fucking love story in this as well, haven't we? What is it? It's like a single. Is it a single mom? I think it is, and it's just, oh God.
We can survive this.
We can survive this.
You and I.
You and I. Is he trying to do the Orlando Bloom? Like, there was a fell voice on the air. Like, this forbidden love story, because you know that worked so well in the Hobbit films, didn't it, between Killy and Tariel. Not everything needs a look. It's just it's so cringe. And again, it's you know it's an elf, and a man. Well, an elf and a man, an elf and a human of the race of men, and it's just. If this is a prequel, this just completely takes it away from the likes of, you know, Beren and Luthien, which is the precursor to Aragorn and Arwen. They share that ancestry. Because, yeah, they're like, this is fun to think about. Aragorn and Arwen are like cousins 28 times removed, but they're still cousins. They're very distantly related, but they're still related. But yeah, that's meant to be a massive deal that not, you know, elves don't always give it up for humans. Like, they don't. This is unheard of, and it's only heard of with Beren and Luthien, and then with Aragorn and Arwen. But now we've got this, and it just really takes the shine away from it, doesn't it? So, you know, we just got to have a love story in there, and everyone's just going to be, the normies are just going to be like, yes, like, this is all stunning and brave, and it's like, fuck off. Oh, the fans that are going to come out from this show as well are just going to be absolutely intolerable as well. Like, I can already imagine. Right, let's continue. So this is where you've got the elves, what I assume is crossing the Helcarax. Well, I keep saying it's the Helcarax. It could be the Misty Mountains. It could be anything. I'm not sure. Because, you know, they're playing fast and loose with the lore at this point, so anything's up for grabs. Commander. So Galadriel is commanding these people. He's like, Commander. It's like, no, we keep moving. And it's like, Galadriel wasn't commanding anyone at this point. If this is the Helcaraxe, she was crossing into Middle-earth because she wanted to set up her own kingdom. She wanted to govern. She wanted to rule over her own kingdom. But she was married to Celeborn. This was a two-way deal. It's like, she wouldn't be commander. It's just... But, you know, hey, if Celeborn's dead during this, then fuck me, right?
Why do you keep fighting?
I think this is that Paradise? I think this is near where they filmed Beorn's, the Beorn stuff, if I remember rightly, which I think is Paradise in New Zealand. I could be mistaken. I know you've got the mountains there, and then there's like these kind of fords and everything that you see here, and then behind this bit here on the left is like this beautiful sort of like grassy meadow, which I think is where they shot Beorn's house from, if I remember rightly. It looks very similar. It could just be like another similar location in New Zealand. One day I will visit New Zealand. It's on my bucket list, and I really hope that... I haven't been on holiday anywhere in like 10 years, and I really need to change that fact. And hopefully I get to go to Middle-earth at some point. It'd be beautiful. And I will spend so much money on merch, it will be unreal. I'd love to go, love to visit. Why do you keep fighting, Galadriel? And she's like, let me tell you, because I got big cojones. Snow troll right here. Sure.
There's a tempest in me.
That the cringiest line ever. There is a and the placement of that line as well. It's like, why do you keep fighting? Hang on.
Wait, no, we keep moving.
Why do you keep fighting?
Why do you keep fighting? And then we cut to an unrelated shot. She's like, there is a tempest in me. And it's just like, have a dad, Galadriel. Just, yeah.
There is a tempest in me.
Oh, God, it's so cringe. And look at this ninja. Look at this. This is all the shit that Galadriel was going to be doing. This entire fucking series is shit like this.
Tempest in me.
This. That ninja roll. That. Oh my God, it's so fucking bad. And you know she's going to take that troll down on her own as well. Climbing the wall from Game of Thrones. Wonderful. In full plate armor, because, you know, that's good garb to climb a fucking ice wall with.
Put up your sword.
Put up your sword, Galadriel. And then, oh, this shit. What the fuck is this shit? Just take it. Oh my God. They've literally got a chain, and they're just... I can't believe I missed this the first time I watched it. They're literally riding a chain and just knocking out all these orcs like they're fucking bowling pins. Check this shit out. And the orcs are just walking into it. It just looks so bad. What the fuck is this? Look at this. Just knocking down like they're bowling pins. How to take the threat away from the orcs is just show that. I can't believe that they think that that's good enough to put in a trailer and think that that shit actually looks compelling.
Put up your sword.
Hang on, let's check this shit again. That is wow. Wow. Shit, maybe they should have tried that at the Battle of Helm's Deep, you know, or maybe the Rohirrim should have just fashioned like a giant chain from one end of the army, one end of the cavalry to the other end of the cavalry, and they just fucking charge that shit into them and just like knock every single one down like fucking bowling pins, like it's Wii bowling. This is so fucking bad. Will says, I've got the feeling that they're going to create a love story between Galadriel and Discount Aragorn. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. You know, and she's sat next to him and just counseling him, and you've got them all in, you know, on the shipwreck, and she's like saving his life. And why do you fight Galadriel? Oh, there's a tempest in me. It's so bad. This shit, this fucking bullshit right here. What is it with chains? They've got like a chain fetish or something in their shit. So you got these orcs right here pulling this chain. Dude just fucking bounces off it like it's 300. Yeah, we've got a lift. We've got more 300 bullshit pretty boy guy. Gandalf using some kind of spell right now. It's like, don't take me for some conjurer of cheap tricks. Someone, Numenor getting firebombed by the looks of it. But we did see the burning ships in the previous one, so Ninja. Oh god, yeah, she takes it out. She takes the troll out by herself. Look at this shit. And this is like a finishing move. You know, this is like Final Fantasy, like dude just stood behind her, like she's proud of that shit too. Like she didn't even break a sweat doing that. There's no threat, there's no tension. She didn't even have to fight hard for that shit. Look, it's dead. She twirls, hero pose, and you punctuate it with that.
Without it, what am I to be?
There is a tempest in me. Without it, what am I to be? Fuck you. Fuck Amazon and fuck your fucking show. How about that? I know I've been swearing like crazy, but I don't know. This show brings it out in me. This isn't even demonetized. We're back. I've seen it. This is... I need a fucking drink. I'm saving that for the actual show, by the way. So I'm on the light stuff today. I got nothing. I got nothing else to say. As I say, for like all these people that keep saying, wait until the show. I don't need to. We've seen it, everything. This is their marketing. This is the shit they're proud of and putting out there to get people on board for it. The writing is so on the nose, and it's got none of that beauty to it, that poetic language. You know, even with the Lord of the Rings films, when they used Tolkien's dialogue, obviously they had a lot of their original dialogue in there too, but for the most part that was blended really beautifully with Tolkien's own words. You know, when Grima Wormtongue is talking to Eowyn and he says something like, who knows of what you've spoken to the darkness in the bitter watches of the night, when all of your world seems to shrink, a hutch to trammel, a wild thing so fair, like the cold chill of winter clinging on to the spring, whatever it is, just the way that sounds, it's so eloquent and it's so beautiful. And obviously it's taken from Tolkien's own words as well. White shores and beyond, a far green country under a swift sunrise. Beautiful. And there's so many examples of that too. Less so in The Hobbit. The Hobbit dialogue is much more on the nose and a lot more basic, but there are moments where they do use Tolkien's words still. But this one, it's just, I think what gets me is that this whole, you know, call it whatever you want to call it, woke craze, whatever you want to call it. It might have been new with Star Wars, with the Star Wars sequel trilogy, and we were all looking forward to that trilogy. I don't think we quite anticipated what it was going to be, did we? We thought it was in safe hands. But the more that we've seen of this, and now it's kind of infected the MCU as well, and is really just killing its storytelling and its characterization and tearing down characters that we love as well. That's what they're great at doing. You know, they tore down all of the legacy characters in Star Wars, and they've tore down all of the main Avengers as well. And what are we left with now? What are we left with now? She-Hulk, great, brilliant. You know, and now they've got to Tolkien. Now they've got around to Tolkien, and I think we're wise to it now. We know what they're trying to do. We know the tricks of the trade. We know what they're trying to do with their female characters and with the, you know, pushing their agendas. They've put their own baggage and their own message into Tolkien. And I think I used this quote last time. There's that quote from Peter Jackson. It's on the behind the scenes DVD. He said, "We didn't want to bring our own baggage or put our own message onto it. We just wanted to adapt Tolkien's works. That's all they wanted to do." And that's exactly what he did do. And you're not getting that with this. This is made for financial gain only. It's, you know, let's invest all this money in this really lucrative and successful IP, and let's shit out a TV series, and, you know, everyone's going to flock to it. Well, guess what? People aren't flocking to it. The normies are flocking to it. And there's still quite a few of them. And as I say, I think this will do very well in its premiere. I think a lot of people will be watching this, and I do think it will dip off after a time. But the dislike ratio, this isn't made for Tolkien fans, because this isn't Tolkien. There's nothing about this is remotely Tolkien. There is no love. There's no reverence for its source material. There's not a vision there to adapt Tolkien's works. It's to only corrupt and destroy, as we keep seeing. And that's exactly what it is. And people are biting back against it, which is great to see. And I hope the dislikes keep coming in. And I hope this show does bomb for Amazon, because they fucking deserve it after everything they've done with it. As I said, we will be covering the show. We will be covering it because, you know, I'm very passionate about Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and other assorted works. Of course I am. And in any other circumstances I mentioned, I wouldn't be watching this show. I would be boycotting the show almost completely, and my life would be better for it. But I owe it to you guys, and we're all morbidly curious. And the thing is, if it's really bad, which it will be. There's no even ifs, ands, or buts about it anymore. It will be. That's confirmed. We're gonna have a fucking blast tearing it down, you know, and I'm gonna die on this hill, because Tolkien is the thing that I'm most passionate about in my life when it comes to media and literature. And I ain't going to stand idly by in silence and watch his legacy be torn down. I'm going to do what I can. So, yeah. Oh, we got another comment from Will here. There is still hope. If you install return YouTube dislike, you'll see that every trailer of this shit show has more dislikes than likes. Don't mess with Tolkien fans. Yeah, I did assume actually that there would be more dislikes than likes on there. And I do really need to download that, actually, because isn't it interesting that they got rid of the dislikes? You know, isn't it so interesting that they did that they're only pushing one thought process? You know, you can only see likes, you can only see how many people enjoyed it, and that just takes away, oh yeah, we're not going to show dislikes, we're not going to show a differing opinion here of anything. It's because these big corporations are scared. They're scared of shit like this, and you know, they can choose to hide it all they want, but with the right extensions and everything, which I will download for next time, believe it. Yeah, it's very telling, isn't it? Yeah, don't fuck with Tolkien. This is what fills me with joy. I genuinely think they've picked a fight with the wrong fan base for this one. You know, Star Wars had us fooled. Marvel's gone down the toilet. We've seen a lot of other franchises bite it as well. But you don't fuck with Tolkien. You don't fuck with Tolkien. And I think that the Hobbit trilogy got a free pass because obviously there was a lot of things at play with that, with Peter Jackson the behind the scenes and he had no prep time. And I don't absolve Peter Jackson of all the blame for that trilogy, because he did raise some really questioning decisions with that. But there was a lot of elements at play, and I think he got a free pass because obviously he did direct the Lord of the Rings films, and there was at least some kind of continuity there. It wasn't perfect, and there was a lot of things that did break continuity, but there was a sense of continuity there between him being the director between these two trilogies. With this one, there's no excuse. And the Peter Jackson thing as well, that they didn't return his calls, that they asked him if he wanted to be a part of it. He said that, well, he can't make that decision unless he sees the scripts, and then never heard from. The very guy, the very reason that this show exists is from Peter Jackson adapting Tolkien onto the big screen and it being as level of a success that it was and still is. And yeah, either they don't have any confidence in their scripts, or they were scared of what might have happened, or Peter Jackson being very public with stuff. I don't think he would have been, because he's covered for people before, and he's put on a brave face with stuff before in the past. But yeah, it's very telling. And then Shippy as well, leaving very early on in the process, because clearly they wanted to put all this shit in there, and he's a Tolkien scholar. He wouldn't give it his seal of approval, and if he doesn't get behind their way of thinking, he'd probably jump ship. Which, I respect a man like that. I respect someone who lives by their conviction and doesn't back down. And, that happened with me on my previous channel as well, that shall not be mentioned. I had my opinions. They didn't agree with my opinions and wanted to shut my opinions down, wanted to silence me, delete my videos, make me publicly apologize for shit, spreading lies about me online and everything like that. And I ain't backing down. I've got conviction. I'm passionate about what I am, and I'm never going to dilute my opinion for anyone or anything. My opinion is my opinion. I am open to differing opinions, and let's have an adult discussion. If I hate something and you guys like it, then that's brilliant. That's how discussion happens. That's how we can have a back and forth. That's how we can have a debate between it, a friendly debate. But to silence people, it's our way or the highway, that kind of dictatorial rule, cancel culture, call it whatever you will, it's a fucking cancer, and it's not conducive to a healthy society in any way, shape, or form. Anyway, I'm getting off on my high horse. I have clocked over 2 hours. I think I've gone over 2 hours on all of these Rings of Power things, haven't I? I've still got so much to do. I've still got to practice guitar. I've got to put like 3 hours of guitar practice in tonight, guys. So I'm going to be up till very, very late into the AM. But I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's joined me tonight. I didn't think I'd have a lot of people watching, but we've had some consistent viewership, even more consistent comments as well. So it's been absolutely wonderful, from Nikki to Augusto. Will, like, getting to chat with you again, mate. It's really great. We've had Mythic Dawn, SeaWorld Man, of course, as well, devoted viewer of my content and the channel. So yeah, just a big thank you to all of you. I can't do it without you, and this is great. I enjoy doing what I'm doing. When we've got some back and forth, it's absolutely wonderful. That'll do it for my trailer reaction. If you haven't done so already, or if you discover this video after the fact, let me know what you think of the Rings of Power official trailer. Do you think it's the best trailer we've had? Are you looking forward to this? Are you morbidly curious? Or like me and like a lot of other people in the comments, do you think this show is dead on arrival? Whatever happens with this show, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, I think. And on the subject of this show, do subscribe to the channel for more movie reviews, discussions, and live streams, and indeed Rings of Power coverage. I will be covering every single episode of the first season. We'll be talking about it in a very similar situation as we are now. It'll be a live stream. Pretty much everything I do is a live stream now. It works for me. I run my mouth. We'll talk about things. I was considering, and actually, while I've got you all a part of this, please do comment now and let me know which you'd prefer. Would you prefer a live watch along where I'm watching the episode for the first time and reacting to it happening? Or are you happy for me to watch it first, come on, and then we discuss it after we've all watched it? I'm tending towards the latter, because I don't always want to talk over something in case I miss something. And people are saying, oh, you're not paying attention to it, you're not watching it because you've missed this plot point and this plot point, because I'm having to man a live stream and I'm having to watch the show as well. Which would you prefer? Would you prefer to see my initial first time opinions on it in kind of like a reaction way for both of the episodes, for all of the episodes, or would you prefer like a discussion after the fact where we talk about it in a much more structured way? Let me know which you prefer, but we will be covering Rings of Power content as and when it rolls around in a couple of weeks' time. Oh, the joys. Also, follow me on Twitter. You can find me at Hobbit Fan Editor. I always get tongue-tied on that. Follow me at Hobbit Fan Editor. There I'll post all the times that I'll go live. You'll get to stay in the loop. You'll know when shows are coming. I'll let you know well in advance when I'm going live for something, times and everything. And yeah, we can work it out from there. And also in the TV realm of things, we'll be starting, hopefully, a much better TV show. I'll be giving my spoiler-free review on Cobra Kai Season 5 on September the 6th. I haven't watched the episodes yet, but I've been granted the first 9 episodes. And then the last episode is going to be released when all of the episodes are released to everyone. So it won't be a complete review. It's going to be spoiler-free. It's going to be very broad strokes, and I'm not going to give anything away. But that's going to be really fun. So if you're a Cobra Kai fan, if you're a Karate Kid fan, do subscribe to the channel for more, because I'm going to be covering that show. We're going to do a spoiler-free on that day. And then once the 10th episode and the whole series is released to everyone, we're going to do a spoiler-filled discussion as well. So that'll be really, really fun to do. And if you're enjoying the Bond content that I've been doing on the channel recently, I'm going through all of the Bond films recently. So recently, it was 2 days, well, kind of in my mind it was yesterday, but we ticked into Thursday now, so it was 2 nights ago. I did my review on The World Is Not Enough. You've got a playlist on there, 60 years of Bond, and I'm still working my way through them. Next Tuesday on the 30th, we're going to have the Die Another Day review, which is going to be absolutely incredible. It's a laughing stock of a film. It's a guilty pleasure film, and there's going to be a lot of laughs on that one. There's going to be a lot to discuss. That's going to be 11:30 p.m. British Standard Time, so if you're a Bond fan, do tune in for that stuff as well. And I've got plans for more content in the future. So September's going to be stacked. There's a lot of TV stuff going on with that. Bond's going to continue into October. And then I've got some plans from October onwards and some franchises that I really do want to take on as well in reviews. Final thank you to everyone that's taken the time and taken over 2 hours of their evening tonight to watch me prattle on about the Rings of Power. You guys are brilliant. So stay excellent to each other, and I will catch you on the next video. Good night, everyone.